Hey guys, Tony Soda here, back again to another movie review, and today we'll be reviewing The Eternals. Now, The Eternals is directed by Chloe Zhao and features Gamma Shan, Richard Madden, Kamal Nui, I think it's his name, Angelina Jolie, Leah McHugh, Barry Keoghan, Don Lee, Hanish Patel, Brian Tyree Henry, Lauren Ridloff, Salma Hayek, and Kit Harington. So, the plot to The Eternals, okay, before I talk about the plot, I just want to say, this review, will be spoiler free for the first half of the video, but the second half of the video will be totally spoilers. So just be aware of that, and I'll let you guys know when I get to the spoiler side. But for now, you're safe. So yeah, so the plot to this movie is that we follow with this group of 10 people called the Eternals, and they've been in Earth for thousands of years, and they've just been helping Earth with the wars with the deviants, because like these people, like these watchers of the world, I forgot their names, but they sent them on that mission, and they want them to watch over Earth with they want them to watch over Earth, like protect Earth from the deviants, but they can't interfere with any wars that humans do, because like they want them to do their own stuff. So yeah, and they haven't been active. They haven't even been active with the world for like centuries, and so. But then an Eternal rises, and then like since they found out that there are more Eternals coming now, they decide to band the whole team together again. Like the whole team decides to band together again and to try to stop like stop the deviants from doing another war to Earth. So yeah, that's the whole plot of the Eternals. Now I watched this movie 2 weeks ago, so I can't, so I won't be able to remember a lot from it. I can remember a lot from it, but just not like the whole thing, you know. But like, yeah, and there are some plot points that I can't remember and some names I can't remember, so forgive me for that. So yeah, and I saw this movie with my ex. We're not dating anymore. I mean, we were dating when we saw it, but I don't want to get into that right now. So yeah, the what was I gonna say? So yeah, this movie, my thoughts on it. I really like this movie actually. I mean, I wouldn't say loved it, but I really liked it. I mean, there was so much question. I mean, by the end of the movie, there were a lot of questions in your head that needed to be answered. Like this movie was. Okay. I kept my word. No spoilers. Shit. No spoilers right now. But I'm just gonna say, but by the time you get to the end of the movie, there's gonna be so much questions in your head. So that's a major flaw I have with it, and also the run time to this movie was way too long. 2 hours and 37 minutes. This movie could have easily been trimmed down at least 15-20 minutes or so. I mean, just if you guys heard me talk about the plot was super simple, and it did not have to have a 2 hour and 37 minute runtime for a plot like that. At least it could have been 2 hours and 2 hours and 20 minutes or so, not 2 hours and 37 minutes. That's just way too long. So yeah, let me think. And there are a lot of like there were some characters stuff that I didn't get, and some plot point stuff that was very confusing. So yeah, but I'll get into that once I talk about the spoilers stuff. But for now, let's talk about positives and the characters. So the characters to this movie, starting with Cersei, the main one. Cersei was pretty cool actually. Like I would say a huge positive to this movie is the characters. The characters to this movie are awesome. I loved all the characters to this movie. Now, before I went to before I talk about the characters, I just want to say before I walked into this movie, there were a lot of reviews actually. Like there were a lot of mixed reviews to this movie. A lot of people were hating it. They were saying it's the worst Marvel movie. A lot of people were loving it. So it was very mixed. So getting into this movie, I was hoping for it not to be another bad MCU movie that I'm taking my girlfriend with. But no, at the end we both really enjoyed it. I should stop mentioning her. Okay, let me see. Anything else I should say? So yeah, I don't really see the huge like hate to this movie, like why so many people were giving it so much hate. I really enjoyed it. It didn't deserve any hate. What was I just thinking? Okay, if you guys hear any noise in the background, that's my family. Like this is my grandma's house, and most of her kids live here. All her kids are like in their 20s, but they're kind of noisy. So yeah, if you hear noise, it's probably coming from them. Let me think. Anything else I should say? So yeah, let's get on to the characters now. Now the characters, starting off with Cersei, like I said, she was pretty cool. Like, there was this whole love story too with her and Ikaris. I mean, it wasn't throughout the whole movie. It was mostly through flashbacks with Cersei and Ikaris were really in love back in the day, but then they broke up and like Cersei's trying to do a new life. Oh yeah, and I forgot to mention that about the plot is that the Eternals like are doing their own thing. Like in the beginning, like none of them are band together. Like I think only Cersei and Sprite are the only ones that are together in the team, but everyone else is just scattered throughout the world basically. So yeah, and that's why like they need to band together. Like 10, like because 10 people have to band together. So yeah. Let me see. Anything else I should say? So yeah, throughout the whole beginning, like not even the beginning, like the first two acts of this movie, like they're all like doing their own shit. So Cersei, she's trying to find like another husband. Like she has another boyfriend now that she's left to Cars. So yeah, and that's Dane or whatever his name is. Like I think his name was Dane, but he's supposed to be Black Knight in the comics, which yeah, but let me think. Oh yeah, so yeah, Cersei. So yeah, that whole plot point. I like that whole plot point, and then like Cersei is the first one to find out about the deviants. That she's the one. Her and Ikaris and Sprite are the ones in charge of banning the whole team again, and that whole fight in the beginning with the deviants was pretty cool. So yeah, shit, I'm saying too much. So sorry. Okay, we get on to Ikaris now, which Ikaris, he was a badass. I loved Ikaris so much. I think Ikaris might have been my favorite in the whole team. Ikaris, he was definitely like Marvel's version of Superman. He was so much like Superman, like on so many levels. Like he was Marvel Superman in so many ways. Cause literally the way he flies is just like Superman. He has laser beams. He has super strength like Superman. Literally the way the whole thing he acted, like how he acted was just like Superman. And yeah, and I really like that actually. I mean, at first I was like, damn, they're just ripping off Superman. But now I see it's even more than that. Like, it's not just a rip off of Superman, it's even more of that. And I really liked Ikaris a lot. Like, they did a really good job establishing him. He was amazing. And Richard Madden played him perfectly. I think Richard Madden was the perfect role for Ikaris. Oh yeah, and performances. That is a huge, huge positive to this movie because all the actors in this movie literally give it their all. I loved every single actor in this movie. Like they were all amazing. They all played their performances played their performances perfectly, honestly. And every cast member was perfect from the comics, honestly. And yeah, and just performances were spot on. They were amazing. They were perfect. Yes, I love the performances so much, and I haven't really been seeing much people talk about that. But performances, like there was nothing wrong about the performances. They were great. So yeah, let me think. So yeah, Cars was amazing, and like let me think. And then his whole relationship with Cersei was pretty cool too. How he was always remembering her, and like he was like he knew that they were in love at one point, but he understands that she doesn't love him anymore. So yeah, all the scenes with him were just awesome. All the fight scenes with him were cool. His laser beams, just yeah, he was awesome. So yeah, and then we get on to Kingo. The Indian one. I forgot. Yeah, his name was Kingo, and he was really cool too. His power was to like make explosions or something like that, or like he has like big like white things that come out of him and they explode you or something like that. I don't really know what his power was. I mean, I don't really know what his power is called, but that's my best explanation. Is he makes white things come out of him and that supposedly harms people. But like I said before, it's been 2 weeks since I've seen this movie, so I kind of forgot. I kind of forgot a bit about the movie. Let me think. So yeah, Kingo was great actually. I loved Kingo so much. He was so funny in the movie. Like he was definitely the funniest part of the movie because because he was this actor, like he's an actor in Bollywood, and like he has a huge career, and like throughout the whole years he's been living, he's been acting, but he's been saying like that's my great grandfather, that's my grandfather, that's my father. So yeah, so yeah, he's basically just been faking that he's just been faking that because every single actor looks just like him, but he's just saying that those are his ancestors. So yeah, just Kingo was funny, and he even had there was even this whole plot. There was even this whole thing where he brought his cameraman to film most of the stuff they were doing, film all the battles they were doing, and then there's this one cool part where he explodes one of the deviants' heads, and then he's like, what was the guy's name? He was like, Carmoon, you get that? Like he explodes the guy's head, and he's like, you get that? Yeah, he was really funny. And then there was this one part where he was filming a documentary with Cersei and Sprite, and then he was asking questions about Cersei, and he didn't like how she was responding. He was like, maybe we should retake that. And then he was gonna interview Sprite, but then she was like, what are you doing? I don't want to be a part of this. And he's like, just do an interview. And she's like, okay. Oh wait, I forgot something. And then she takes something out of her sweater pocket, and then she takes it out, and it's her flicking him off. And then she just disappears. So yeah, just all the scenes with him were hilarious. So yeah, Kingo was great. And then we get on to Athena, played by Angelina Jolie. Athena was pretty cool too. Athena was awesome, honestly. Like she could make like this sword come out of her, and then she knows how to fight. She knows how to fight a lot, and Angelina Jolie played her perfectly, and just all the scenes with her were awesome. How she was like the second leader of the group. The leader was Ajax, but she was the second leader of the group. So yeah, just all the scenes with her were awesome. So I don't want to get too much into the characters because if I do, it'll be spoilers. But like I told you, I'm gonna get into spoilers later. And then we get on to Sprite. Sprite was awesome actually. I love Sprite a lot in this movie, and I think the actress of Sprite is my age, I think. So yeah, but Sprite, she's supposed to be like a little kid, but she's been living as a little kid for her whole life, for thousands of years, and she really hates that. And she's always wanted to have a normal life, but she can't. So yeah, and I really like that whole thing with Sprite. How I would say Sprite, Cersei, and Akaris were the most emotion, the ones with the most emotion, honestly. But yeah, Sprite really gave off a lot of emotion in this movie, and she was pretty funny at times too. And I really liked her power too, how she can vanish, or she can vanish or something like that. Or let me think, what was I gonna say? What was I saying? Yeah, she can vanish, but I forgot what else she can do. Oh yeah, she can also make illusions too, or something like that. Yeah, she can make illusions happen too, and I liked all those scenes with her. Oh, and I forgot to explain Cersei's power. Cersei's power was if she touches something, it can turn into whatever she wants. Like she touches water, it can turn into sand or something like that. Or she touches gold, it'll turn into metal. So yeah, Cersei's power was awesome too. So yeah, Sprite was cool, and then we get on to Druid. Druid's power was he can control people, like he can control people's minds, and I thought that whole power was really cool. And then he had this other power too that I forgot, but Druid was really cool too, and I really liked that whole thing where he was saying that he doesn't want people to do bad, like he wants them to be good. And there was even this one part when it was in a flashback where all these people were hating on each other and they were bullying each other, but then he controlled them to love each other. So yeah, he was definitely like he was one of the more good ones of the team, because he really he didn't want he hated humans being evil, and I really loved that a lot about him. So yeah, Druid was cool, and then Gilgamesh. I really like Gilgamesh a lot. Gilgamesh was Athena's husband or something like that, or I don't know if it was husband. I think it was just boyfriend, but I know they had some romance together. But Gilgamesh was really cool too. What was his power again? I can't remember most of these people's powers. But I forgot a lot. I forgot about Gilgamesh, but Gilgamesh was really cool though. Like there was this one scene where he handles with the deviants in the forest, and that scene was very emotional. So that was a really great scene from him. I won't say what happens. So yeah, Gilgamesh was cool, and then we get on to what was his name? Karun or whatever. Yeah, it was Karun. He was Kingo's cameraman. I mean, he was funny. Like he was really funny. I liked him, but the thing is, was he really necessary in the movie? No. I don't think he was really necessary in the movie. He was just there for more comic relief, and then just like he was just there for comic relief. But I wouldn't really say he was really necessary in the movie because he wasn't even an Eternal. He was just some guy, some normal guy who's just filming the shit that happens. So yeah, just he wasn't really like he wasn't really necessary, but I still liked him though. I still liked him. And then we get on to Fastos. Oh wait, I forgot to talk about another thing about Gilgamesh. I think this was Gilgamesh, but he was living in the desert, and then there's this one part where Kingo was drinking the stuff he made. Like he made this like little drink, and he was like, "Wow, this is really good." And he talks about he has corn and all this stuff in it, and his own saliva, and then Kingo easily gets disgusted by it. yeah. Who else is there? And then we get on to Fastos. I think Fastos was the one played by Brian Tyree Henry. But I liked him. I mean, he was gay. I mean, he was. Oh yeah, and another thing about this movie is pretty much with the Eternals. They're pretty much a mix of everything, honestly, because like it's a mix of different races, different sexuality, like just a mix of everything, and I really like that because Cersei was Chinese, Kingo was it what was it was Indian. Icarus looked like he was at least American, and Ajax was Mexican, and Fastos was gay. So yeah, it's pretty much a mix of everything, and I really like that a lot. So yeah, and then there was this whole thing where Fastos had a family, like he had a boyfriend, and he had an adopted son. I believe the son was adopted because like the son basically had two dads. so yeah, uh, Fastos was cool. And I really like this power too, where he can handle with mechanism or something like that. Like he can build stuff. Like he can build his own stuff. Like his walls were entirely his own like creation, and the doors too. Yeah. Let me think. And then he was the smartest of the team too, I think. Let me think. And then we get on to so yeah, Fastos was cool, and then we get on to Makari. Makari, she couldn't talk. Oh yeah, that's another mix of something. It's a deaf. I mean, she wasn't deaf, but she couldn't talk. She was a mute. So yeah, that's another mix. Is a mute is in the group too, and her power was super speed, and she was great too. I mean, she didn't have much screen time, but she was awesome for all the things she was in. She couldn't talk, but she used sign language. So yeah, she was cool. And then we get on to Ajax. She was played by Salma Hayek. Ajax was cool. I mean, she didn't have much screen time, but she was the leader of the group. She was cool. Not really much to her, but she was cool. And then there was this funny scene. There was this really funny scene where where the Eternals were talking about the Avengers, how Captain America and Iron Man died, and then they were like, and then they were wondering who's gonna lead the Avengers now, and then Icarus was like, me, I'll probably lead the Avengers, I'll do a really good job, and then they were like, why would they want you as a leader? Ajax didn't even choose you as our leader. Yeah, that scene was really funny, and I remember in that scene I was like, damn. Yeah, that was definitely the funniest scene of the movie. Let me think. So yeah, I think that's all. Oh yeah, and then there's the character of Dane. He was okay. I mean, uh, my best friend went into this movie expecting a lot of Black Knight because he's a huge Black Knight fan. He studied off him. He's read some of his comics. He's a huge Black Knight fan. So he was coming into this movie expecting Black Knight, but he was kind of disappointed because of how much Black Knight wasn't really in it, and he wasn't even Black Knight at all. So yeah, but yeah, and but they're setting up Black Knight. I think they're gonna make a Eternals 2, or at least a Black Knight solo movie. That'd be cool. But Dane was okay. And my best friend, he's told me a lot about Black Knight, and he seems like such a badass. So I was a little disappointed on that too, because I was expecting to see a bit of Black Knight. So yeah, but he was okay. Okay, so I think that's all the characters to this movie. The soundtrack to this movie was amazing. I love the soundtrack a lot to this movie. The soundtrack was great, like the little beats, the score. I love the soundtrack so much. Let me think. Okay, so I think that's it for the spoiler-free side. The spoiler-free side was 20 minutes. So now we are talking about full-on spoilers. So if you have not yet seen this movie, please leave this review because I will get into some pretty major spoilers. Um, so the first spoiler I would like to talk about is how there were a lot of confusing shit in this movie. Like so much shit was so confusing in this movie, such as Eternals were basically made as robots. Like they're not. I mean they're like the watchers of the world, the watchers of the universe basically just made them to like stop their original creation of the deviants because they turn evil. And so they want him to go on with his plan. And yes, and that whole subplot I found a little confusing at times. Let me think. And then oh yeah, and I forgot to mention in the spoiler free side, that in the first act of the movie there were a lot of flashbacks, but I like those flashbacks a lot. There was a lot of exposition with the flashbacks. Those flashbacks were really enjoyable, honestly. Like when it showed Cersei and Akars when they were in love, I love those flashbacks a lot. And there was even a sex scene in an MCU movie, which I never thought I would have seen. I mean, there was a tiny one in the first Iron Man, but I never thought they were going to redo that again. Because the first Iron Man wasn't even Disney at that time, but now they did that again. Uh, Let me think. Anything else I should say? So yeah, and then that whole deviant war in the flashbacks was awesome too. And I would definitely say my favorite scene in this whole movie is the forest scene when they were all fighting the deviants in the forest. That whole scene was awesome. Literally, shit went down in that scene. That scene was amazing. Literally, like I would say that's one of the best scenes in all of the MCU. Honestly, yeah. Uh, Let me think. Anything else I should say in the spoiler side? Oh yeah, and another spoiler to this movie is that there is another villain. There's oh yeah, and here's another flaw to this movie is that there's not really much of a villain to this movie. I mean, I guess I would say the deviants are the villains, but there's no like main antagonist to this movie. I mean, there's like two people you could say that are the antagonists, but they're not really the antagonists. I mean, so yeah, that's another flaw I have with this movie. Is just there's not really a villain to this movie. Let me think. But there's this one guy, this or I wouldn't even say a guy. He's a deviant. Like he's a deviant turned into a man because the deviants evolved and he sucked and he killed Gilgamesh and he took over, like he was sucking his body and then that made him a human. I mean not a human but like a deviant like in a human body. And that whole shit with that thing. Uh, I don't really like that honestly. I didn't really like that whole thing. That whole deviant. He was only in the movie for just 5 minutes, so I would say you could have cut him out too. I didn't like that guy. He was not even the antagonist at all, and then he just dies so quickly, and it's just like, ugh. So yeah, I didn't like that thing. But then there was another villain to this movie, a surprise villain, a twist, which I kind of saw coming already. Which is Akars is the villain to this movie. Like he's a villain to this movie. Like at first you think he's good, but then by the end he shows that he's bad and he has his own plan. Uh, he has his own plan to like I forgot the plan, but he has his own plan too, where he wants the Eternals to join him because they just found out that they were robots, so they want their own plan too. And let me think. And they want one of the big people, like one of the big watchers, to like come up from the earth, but they're trying to stop him. Let me think. Like they're trying to. Shit, I forgot a lot about this movie. Please forgive me for that, but I'll probably rewatch this movie once it comes on Disney Plus, and maybe I'll do like another like not another review, but maybe just a short telling you guys everything I remember about Eternals. But as of right now, I can't remember much. So, but yeah, the whole thing with the cars being the villain, I thought that was cool. I mean, I already saw that coming, but I thought that was cool. And then he turns Okay, I don't want to talk about that right now. Not just yet. Let's talk. And then Icarus killed Ajax, the leader of the group. He was the one that killed Ajax because in the beginning, they said that Ajax died by the deviants, but no, Icarus pushed Ajax to be killed by the deviants. So yeah. So yeah, that's another spoiler. Which yeah, I thought that was pretty dark, honestly. Let me think. Any other spoilers I should talk about? And then there's this other thing in the movie too, where Kingo leaves, like the Eternals band together to try to stop the main thing or the main deviant from rising up in the Earth or something like that. Cause like if he does, he'll destroy the Earth or something like that. But but yeah, at the end battle, Kingo doesn't join the end battle. He totally pussies out. And I didn't like that, how he totally pussied out. I at least expected him to go into the battle and to be a part of it. Like he'd be like, "I'm back, guys. Let's finish this." But no, he totally pussied out. So yeah, that was another flaw I had to this. But that whole end battle in the beach was awesome. I would say that end battle was amazing. That end battle was so cool. Yeah, that end battle was great. Definitely the perfect end battle to this movie. Let me think. Oh yeah, and that's another thing to this movie too. Is special effects in this movie. Like all the effects were mind blowing. Honestly, like all the effects in this movie looked so real. They were very eye popping. Like the way the deviants looks like the way the action sequences were held was amazing. It was astounding. So yeah, effects were great. Anything else I should say? Anything else I should say? Now that we're on the spoiler side, any other spoiler I should say? Let me think. So yeah, and then at the end of the movie, Icarus becomes good, but then because he remembers like when him and Cersei were in love, so that makes him turn good, and then he just flies into the sun and kills himself. So yeah, let me think. I mean, I kind of have mixed feelings about that, honestly. Like Icarus killing himself. I mean, I don't really know what to feel about that, honestly. But let me think. Anything else I should talk about? Anything else? Oh yeah. Let's. Okay. The final thing we're talking about is the end credits. Now both end credit scenes. Oh yeah. No wait. Before we talk about the end credits, I just want to say the confusing ending, cause in the end, all the Eternals they seem happy because they saved the world now. Like they saved the world, but that wasn't really what they were supposed to do. That wasn't really what the Watchers had them to do, because he wanted the world to destroy so he can make more worlds or something like that. So he brought all the Eternals in. Like as soon as they were all happy, he brought all the Eternals to them, and then it just ends like that. So yeah, that ending just caused so many questions. It was just so literally it ended on a twist. But I hope they make an Eternals too, though. That'd be cool if they make an Eternals too. And then the post credit scene of this movie was awesome because they showed that there were like two of the Eternals that were still on Earth, but then like a portal opens up and then this little creature comes out and he's like, hey, I give you Thanos' brother, Starstorm or whatever his name was, and then he's played by Harry Styles, and that was awesome because I love Harry Styles so much. Sign of the Times, just all his music is awesome, and everyone loves Harry Styles. So him showing up as a hero of the MCU was awesome. Yeah. Let me think. So yeah, it was really cool seeing him, and especially since Harry Styles is Thanos' fucking brother, that's just awesome. So yeah, that post credit was awesome, and I remember like how excited I was. Yeah, and then the end credits this movie shows Dane getting a knife, and then there's a voice talking to him, and that voice is supposed to be Marshmallow Ali's voice, the guy who plays Blade. So he was talking to him in his voice, and then he opens this, and then Dane opens